Before we begin implementing variables in our programs, we must understand data types. When you declare a variable in Visual Basic, you declare a variable to be a specific type of data. Variables that store numbers are called numeric data types. Numeric data types can be divided into two broad categories: numeric data that has a decimal point and numeric data that stores simply integers. Integers are simply numbers that are whole numbers with no decimal point. Text data is referred to as a string of characters. If the user enters their name, for example, that is considered string data or text data. String is the data type that you would specify for a person's name. Strings are used to display output also. For example, the result of a calculation might be displayed as a string. Even though it is a number, if it's displayed with a dollar sign and commas and decimal points to improve readability, then it would be considered a string. Strings are represented differently than numbers, in that typically strings are not used in calculations. Different data types are treated differently by the computer's memory and processor also. For example, arithmetic operations using integer data types operate much faster than operations on decimal data types. So you can improve the efficiency of your applications by choosing the appropriate data type. Some commonly used Visual Basic data types. The integer data type. This is a whole number, and it has a range of negative 2.1 billion to a positive 2.1 billion. So an integer is a very generous range of numbers if you're trying to represent a number that does not require a decimal. For example, a person's age, presumably expressed as a whole number, might be a good candidate for an integer data type. If you need larger numbers in the range provided by the integer data type, there is another data type called long. Long will give you a much larger range of whole numbers, but a long will require more memory and is slower processing time. A string data type is used whenever you are trying to represent alphanumeric data. Alphanumeric data is anything that consists of letters, numbers, and special symbols. Again, a person's name would be a string. A person's address would be a string. Anything technically could be a string, but the key difference is how is it to be used. If a piece of data is to be used in a calculation, then it should not be treated as a string. It should be treated as one of the numeric data types, either integer or long, or what we're going to talk about next, which is the decimal data type. The decimal data type is used for numbers requiring decimal fractions. The downside of decimal data types is that it does require the most memory. There is an alternative to decimal data type, and that is the single data type, which is used for numbers up to 6 digits of accuracy. Many applications requiring amounts such as dollars and cents do use the decimal data type. Two other commonly used Visual Basic data types are the date data type, which is capable of storing virtually any date that you want to try to represent, and then the Boolean data type. The Boolean data type is a special data type that represent only two possible values. Those values are true or false. We will be looking at applications later that would require the Boolean data type. Virtually all applications that we will work with from this point forward will require the use of variables, and you will see these various data types being implemented in the sample applications.